Hello everyone, this is Wes Miller with Pigskins and Pageantry, a podcast dedicated to all things SEC football and proud member of Blue Wire Hustle. Join me, Jesse, and Matt each week as we discuss last week's games, news around the league, predictions for next week's matchups, and more. And what's up everybody, it's Wes. Welcome to another exciting episode of Pigskins and Pageantry. We got a great show lined up for you tonight. The kettle around the league is starting to boil, and the pressure is going to cause a full-blown explosion one way or the other here in the next few weeks. We will also react to the latest CFP rankings, which were just dropped here on Tuesday night, and we'll give our thoughts on that. And with me to talk about it, as always, Jesse, what's going on? Do you have a voice still?
I do have a voice, oddly enough. I do not know how. I was happily back in T-Town this weekend, attending my first game since not being a student. So very cool to see the tickets you could afford as an alumni. Was with
Nice.
a lot of alumni friends, which was really cool. And I've noticed that not much changes in 6 years. But
Yeah.
The only thing that really does change is your ability to pay your tab. And for that, we are so thankful. We're
Yes.
so thankful.
So lots of tradition that doesn't change, and dare I say, pageantry, right? So So Matt, what's going on, my friend? How are you?
I'm good. Just biding my time until this weekend.
I know you are. We'll get into that. That's a whole thing in and of itself. So let's talk about those games from last weekend and see how everybody did.
Always remember, if you ain't first, you're last.
All right. Well, the first game that we had last week was Mizzou at Georgia. Georgia winning this one 43-6. Jesse got the point. She said it was going to be 45-6. So, I mean, I texted you. I was like, my guy's so close. Like, it was right there.
Close.
And
Do we get a point and a half?
Yeah, I know, right? I can see, I can tell that you're really enthralled by this game, by the way. So the game was obviously good for Georgia fans, but Connor Bazelak missed this game with a soft tissue lower body injury. So not really sure exactly what's going on with that. I think he sustained that in the game prior. But Brady Cook and Tyler Macon took his place. I think both of them are freshmen at the quarterback position. And Georgia kind of struggled with the scrambling abilities of them a little bit early on, but they did adjust. Solid game by the Dogs with a good play on defense, offense, and special teams. So good to see that. And then JT Daniels getting back in the game, trying to knock some of that rust off. And he had some good throws. He had a touchdown throw and looked good. One that he did have a pick on, he threw it behind the receiver, and it sort of got tipped back towards the defender, and they made the play there. So I think that's another one of those things with time off. Yes, he's healthy, but he hasn't played in a while. So that's just going to come. He's going to have to play the rust off, basically, is what it amounts to. So I was glad they were able to get him in there. 10, I think it was either 10 or 11 different receivers utilized for Georgia. So that's cool to see, also spreading the ball around. I know this is just like a bonus at the end, but the defensive stand at the end as time expired, because when Kentucky played us, Stoops called like a bunch of timeouts at the end, and they got that touchdown right at the end. And I was glad to see them not let them in the end zone this time and make that stand. And I think, a lot of the starters were out at that point too. So at that point, it's just the twos are in there and beyond and taking pride in that. And the defense has only allowed 5 touchdowns all season. So I think this is kind of what we expected to happen. But Jesse, what were your thoughts on this game?
I was so close.
I know.
But I mean, it's boring. No offense. It's really boring.
Not offended. If
Mizzou,
I wasn't a Georgia fan, I would be bored as well.
Mizzou's terrible. I mean,
Awful.
and I don't even think having Bazelak in there would have helped much. It doesn't matter. They're terrible. And, Georgia put up almost double the amount of yardage that Mizzou did. I do think it's interesting that Daniels did come into the game. he does need to come into the game, right? It's like you said, he needs to kind of wear that rust off. But to me, it's just kind of funny that he is now the backup guy. And I don't know. I don't think even when he gets the rust kind of shaken off that you put him in, to be honest with you, but that's just me.
Yeah. Well, it's just kind of like on par for the whole what's up is down around the league right now, or around the NCAA in general, not just the SEC. But Matt, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, like Jesse said, this is kind of a dull game. Georgia's defense again showing that it's elite. Interesting that they struggled with the scrambling quarterback for a while there. We'll come back to that. Couple of
good practice.
Good practice, yeah. A couple things jump off the page. Georgia had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 running backs with double digits yardage, so that's cool. I didn't know that Georgia had a 7-headed running monster, but apparently they do. Just kind of, I hate to use the word domination but that's what it is. I mean, Mizzou's this season has been incredibly not good. So
they're bad. You can say bad.
I don't want the 3 Mizzou fans that listen to the podcast. I don't want to offend
They may be
them.
offended. Yeah.
Even if their coach is a jerk and a nerd. But anyway,
he might be a fired nerd.
Yeah.
They're not firing.
You didn't even
yet.
say his proper name either. So.
Coach Drinky.
Yeah. So
it is what it is. I mean, we knew that this was we all picked Georgia to win this thing in a blowout. None of us were shocked by this score at all. So it's just
well, as you said a lot, you really want the teams around the league to be strong as a whole to make the league stronger. And I remember when Mizzou was, a formidable opponent. You look at them on the schedule and you think that's going to be, somewhat of a challenge, or maybe this is not going to be an easy game at all. But now you kind of look at that date on your schedule a little bit differently, and it's not good for the league or Mizzou, obviously. So
well, they were just in the SEC championship game 4 years ago, 5 years ago.
They were in when I was a senior, so it would have been the 2014-15 season.
7 years ago.
Yeah, I mean they went.
Now,
they didn't really.
We knocked their socks off.
Right, I remember that. That game was over so fast. Yeah, but they made it. So, and a lot of other teams didn't. So, all right. Well, interesting again, just to kind of watch that story, the decline of Mizzou, kind of sad to watch. But we'll keep tabs on that and the coaching situation as well. Next, we had Liberty at Ole Miss. Ole Miss winning this one 27-14. I got the point in this one. Ole Miss, they got off to a fast start, scoring the first 24 points of this game. But Liberty, to their credit, didn't fold, made it respectable. And then another interesting stat to note from this game is Ole Miss had 9 sacks in this game. Which is just poor Willis back there for Liberty, just getting knocked around really good. He also had 3 picks in this game. Matt,
that's against an SEC defense that's traditionally not that great,
right?
Well, you imagine if they had played Georgia.
Oh man, that would have been rough.
They'd have been pulling kids off on stretchers. That'd have been awful.
I was gonna say he would have been injured, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, Matt, what were your thoughts on the game as a whole?
Again, I think we anticipated this. It was kind of neat to see Hugh Freeze back in Oxford. Mm-hmm. But obviously he kept a cell phone in his pocket, so nothing going on there.
That we know of.
We know of.
He's gotten better.
Him and Lane probably had a nightcap later that evening.
Yeah. Just swap ideas on how to play things on the down low.
Good Lord. I am kind of interested because I didn't have a chance to watch this. I'm just kind of looking at the stat line. I am kind of interested in how in the world Ole Miss managed to give up 457 yards of total offense to Liberty. Just I know that Hugh Freeze is really good at offense, but again, that Ole Miss defense just kind of makes you go,
Ole Miss isn't very good at defense.
Well, that's true.
Which is interesting. So it's just an interesting conundrum, or whatever you want to call it, paradox of stats. You got 9 sacks, but you also gave up 457 yards of offense too. So it's kind of like feast or famine on the defensive side of the ball. Jesse, what
We
thoughts
also
did you have?
you have two coaches that are kind of similar, if you think about them. Two very offensive forward guys, two morally questionable
Oh, stop
gentlemen.
that.
Both were at Ole Miss.
Did you say
Both
offensive?
love
Offensive?
offensive, potato. They both really love a visor. I'm just saying, I'm seeing that Ole Miss has a type.
Yeah.
Whatever. But no, Hugh Freeze wasn't ready to let Oxford go. I mean, they put up quite a bit of a fight. But any upset hopes were really trashed by halftime. It's like you said, Willis threw 2 interceptions. He was sacked 7 times in the first half. 7 of those 9 were the first half. Liberty also missed a field goal and had a penalty that, took away some scoring opportunities. And they did play better in the second half. As you can see, they didn't give up as many sacks, but it was really just too late in the game to make that much of a difference. And Ole Miss was able to rebound against that loss at Auburn. So they provided some comeback. Matt Corral looked very good. And I think he's upping his chances at a Heisman with games like this. When he makes a lot of completions, he's able to be really dynamic on the field. They had some wide receivers that had breakout performances. So overall, I think they finished very well. It must have been a very fun game to be at, knowing that Lane Kiffin, Hugh Freeze are both friends. And of course, they have their own little controversies to chat through. But it must have been a really fun game, I think, in Oxford. And yeah, I think the one stat, like Matt pointed out, it's got to be defense for Ole Miss. Giving up 457 yards of total offense is insane for a team like Liberty. And if you play other SEC teams, that's not going to fly. You're not going to go very far. So it's across the SEC, but we got to get better or back to defense. We used to do it. I don't know what happened.
I wonder what that pregame conversation was like. How the coaches stand out on the field before the game and chat about nothing in particular. I wonder what that was. So
I think it was probably not mic'd for a reason.
I think it was. So what did you get to keep in the divorce type of discussion?
Hugh Freeze coaches at a Christian school. Like that.
Oh, man. By the way, guys,
forget that.
Something that popped off the stat sheet at me is Liberty's running backs. Their lead running back had 101 yards on the ground. Their second running back had 98 yards on the ground. Their third running back had 71 yards on the ground. So, and that's against Liberty, who's in the they're independent. They're not even in a conference.
I was gonna say, I don't.
Them and Notre Dame hang out. They chat and do stuff. So it's just that Ole Miss defense is always going, huh?
Well, if you even look at time of possession, Liberty had almost double time of possession than Ole Miss did. So obviously that shows that Ole Miss's offense is scoring very quickly. They're moving the ball, but that the defense is not getting Liberty off the feet.
Right. Yeah,
Liberty also had more first downs. They needed more first downs, apparently, but have mercy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's an interesting one there. Probably a little bit closer than we thought. But yeah, credit to Liberty. They'll surprise some people, I think, and as they have, many times already.
Hugh Freeze is not a bad coach. I mean,
all.
Like in a football way.
Right.
Bring him back.
Still can't believe he hasn't been brought back.
Florida's going to need a new head coach here pretty soon, huh?
If Urban Meyer doesn't get there first,
and
Urban Meyer's not going anywhere. He's going to stay in Jacksonville. He's got the hookup with all the ladies in Jacksonville now too.
He's going to USC.
He's not going to USC.
I think James Franklin is going to USC. I don't know. The Hugh Freeze, I think he's got the personality and the offensive mind to go to Florida.
LSU?
That would work. Or that too. Look at the Mad Hatter.
Please don't put Hugh Freeze at LSU.
Yeah, that could be.
He would lose his mind being that close to New Orleans.
That's true. That's true.
Oh man, that's an awful idea.
Yeah.
So funny.
All right, let's go ahead and talk about Auburn at Texas A&M. Next we have, or I'm sorry, the actual score was A&M winning this one 20-7. Jesse got the pick she got the point because she was the only one to pick A&M in this one. I don't know, Jesse, if you were looking at the score and had like flashbacks to Bama LSU, or at least early on with the field goal game and all the defensive slugfest going on and the missed field goals.
Triggered.
A&M was leading 9-3 in this game when Bo Nix was kind of scrambling around trying to have the Johnny Manziel type moments that he has a lot of times, and he coughed up the football, and Michael Clemens returned it 24 yards for a touchdown. A&M was then able to add on another field goal to win this one 20-7, as we said. Yeah, I mean, this was an interesting one. I wasn't sure if we were going to get any kind of offense worth mentioning. And I guess really we still didn't. We just really got that main the scoop and score was the main item to talk about. And then also listener feedback. Harper Stanley says that we should talk about the 12th man, who was a factor in this one as well, as they often are there. But I don't know, Jesse, what were your thoughts on this one? I think you have a story about that, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, I think in regards to the 12th man, that's exactly why I picked Texas A&M. If you go back to last week's show, had it been in Jordan Hare, I would have picked Auburn, but it wasn't. It was at Kyle Field, and that is huge, and obviously I think was a factor in our game. But fans, and we've said it countless times this season, fans play such a huge role, especially this season when we didn't have them last season. Yep. So to have that noise, to have that energy, to have that hype, you can throw a team off. They can't hear on the field. They're going to get delay of game penalties. They can't get right. They don't know where they're supposed to go. It's a huge thing. So, when you have that sort of atmosphere, it absolutely swings things into your corner. That's why people talk about home field advantage. And I think we've been seeing that this season at Kyle Field. And that's obviously why they have the whole 12th man thing. But I think it's been even more effective this season. But obviously I was in Tuscaloosa this weekend. I was in the game. I was at Bryant-Denny, and we had commercial breaks because it was one of the primetime games. So we have to have at least 90 second commercial breaks. And during those breaks, we have Tide TV that's announcing what's happening across the conference or across the league. And they announced the Auburn Texas A&M score. And when I tell you that Bryant-Denny Stadium lit up with clapping and laughter when they announced that Auburn lost, you would have thought we scored a touchdown. It was hilarious. Yes, we did lose to Texas A&M, and maybe people think we should commiserate with Auburn, but no, we literally just laughed. And we're glad that they too got beaten. But yeah, I think we saw it. Texas A&M is moving up in the polls because of that win. That was a huge win for them. They're right there on the cusp. And the Tigers finished with 73 yards rushing on 29 attempts. That was led by Tank Bigsby, who had 69 of those 73 yards. Bo Nix completed 20 for 41 passes. Ooh. And for only 153 yards, fumble, and an interception. Again, it's the Jekyll and Hyde of Bo Nix. He's too inconsistent for me. Bye. Not, can't do it. I would not be in support of this.
I need to make that a sound for whenever things don't go well.
It reminds me of I Love Lucy. Like Lucy
yes. Yeah, you're right.
But no, the Aggies, they were solid on rushing. Isaiah Spiller and Devon Achane. I never know if I'm saying it right. Devon Achane.
Oh,
I'm
right.
So sorry.
I'm not sure.
So sorry, honey. But 112 and 98 yards. They, it wasn't a offensive slugfest, but it certainly was quite the game if you were an Aggie fan or a Tiger fan.
An interesting twist in the West now is if Auburn is able to hold it together against Ole Miss this weekend, and then, if Auburn beats Bama at the end and A&M is able to hang on until then, A&M will actually go in the West.
Yeah.
And Jesse
because
will
of
melt
how,
down.
I mean,
I will be very unwell.
well, I
I will
mean,
need thoughts and prayers.
if you would have told me that a few weeks ago, I would have laughed at you. Just because we all kind of wrote off A&M early on this season because they just looked pathetic on offense and in a lot of other aspects, and certainly not expected. So,
No.
Matt, what were your thoughts on this one?
Again, we should have thought about the home field advantage a little bit more because
Yeah.
A&M, that 12th man's kind of rough. Here's the thing. I was looking back while we were talking. Excuse me. I was looking back at Bo Nix's just his stat line through the season, and if you look at games where Auburn lost, he's the linchpin apparently, because his QB rating against A&M was a 26, which is bad. When at Ole Miss was, against Ole Miss he had a QB rating of 82. Against Arkansas, he had a QB rating of 97. The loss to Georgia, he had a QB rating of 39. The win at LSU, an 80. The win against Georgia State, well, that's an aberration, but either way. Penn State was a 75. That was still a loss, but he still played a pretty decent game. When you look at like where Auburn kind of goes off the rails, the quarterback play is what kills them, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
And Bo Nix, if you could shut him down, you could shut down Auburn's offense. Apparently,
Yeah.
We know Tank Bigsby's is a big runner, and we know that he's a big load to carry, and he can run the ball. But it seems like if you could shut down Nix, you could shut down Auburn. So something to look forward to for Bama, because they need to be keying on him when they play him in a couple weeks.
Scramble Nix. You
Mhm.
scramble the whole offense.
Yeah.
And it seems that his performance on the road versus at home is usually a lot different as well. So, and I think that's
Unfortunately,
even a
we
thing.
play in Jordan Hare, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
it's fine.
we'll
Probably gonna end up holding that, Jesse. I'm sorry.
Stop it. Don't
we'll
you
Just
see.
saying.
put that voodoo on me.
Look, it's gonna be Texas A&M against Georgia in the SEC championship game.
Don't you dare!
I'm
That's
just
so
saying, that's what it's
rude.
looking like it's gonna happen.
I don't even know what to think about that. It's
Hey, y'all
it's
are
odd.
gonna get a great bowl game. What are you complaining for? You can't win the national championship every year.
The other at least. Which I guess we did win last year, but still.
I guess we won
were
last
just
year.
there.
Whatever. It's no big deal. Whatever.
Yeah, it's just number 45 that we
You
got
know.
this month.
Yeah.
It
All right.
must be nice, eh, Wes? You and me are sitting here going, "Hey, please, sir, can we have a national championship?"
I know, because it's
It's
just be
Sabers
nice to-
over there polishing off his 8th one.
as I say, just be nice to have like one of those. It's just much less multiples. All right, let's get to Mississippi at Arkansas, or at Mississippi State at Arkansas. Arkansas won this one 31-28. I got the point. I was the only one to pick Arkansas. Again, home field advantage possibly playing a part here. Mississippi State's offense, slow to start with, but they did get a touchdown at the end of the first half to make it 13-7. And then it's just like the floodgates opened in the second half because it was just wild with Mississippi State taking the lead 27-23 with 2 minutes and 22 seconds left in the game. Arkansas then marches down the field and scores on a 4-yard touchdown run by Dominique Johnson. Mississippi State drove to set up a field goal to tie it, and then they had field goal struggles that game. So Mike Leach switched kickers after Brandon Rees missed 2 field goals, but Nolan McCord wasn't able to hit as well. And I think that was from about 40, I think was what that field goal was. And
Don't do that ever.
so Arkansas hung on to win it. Arkansas is bowl eligible for the first time since 2016, and that deserves a sound clip from Sam Pittman. So let's hear what he had to say.
Hey, we made it interesting, didn't we? Mississippi State has a wonderful football team, well-coached football team. We feel so honored to be able to win the game. And when we came down with 2:22 to go score, what a drive by Coach Browse and the offense and the offensive staff. And God missed it left, and thank goodness for that.
You get that final touchdown in. Jordan and I are going back and forth talking about all these creative plays, throwbacks, this, that. You called the timeout, and then what do?
Well, here, down there on the 2-point, I wanted to run it because if we threw it and they picked it and they ran it back, and I thought Dominic Johnson and our old line could go in there and get it. By golly, they did.
There were so many moments in this game that your team could have allowed momentum to take over their emotions. They kept fighting, kept scratching, found a way not only to win, Coach, but to get bowl eligible.
We were trying to fight that at halftime. You know, it was up 13-0. They scored right there before that. We were fighting that momentum change at halftime. But our kids hung in hard, tough. Our dang offensive and defensive coaches did a great job. Scott Found did a great job. And we're going to some bowl. We don't know what, but Arkansas is going to a bowl.
And I know you're going to enjoy it. Thank you, Coach.
So obviously,
Yes,
obviously, Coach Sam Pittman elated there. So Matt, what were your thoughts on?
Didn't he get
game?
injured?
Yeah, he was doing a commercial
yes.
and he broke his arm or something.
Or no,
Holding
didn't
up
he?
his dog?
He like tore his muscle in his bicep. Right? Yeah.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Dang. All right.
Ooh, I know that had to hurt.
Anyway, on this one, Matt, what were your thoughts on this game?
Really great finish to this game. I had a chance to watch the fourth quarter, and I thoroughly enjoyed this. I was glad that I wasn't a Mississippi State fan or an Arkansas fan because I'd be pulling my hair out through the end of that game. I feel really bad for Mississippi State's kicker because they were put in a good position to tie this thing up, and you know that's the way it works with kickers. Are a lot like I've been told they're a lot like thoroughbred horses. They're just really mental, like incredibly mental. And it's so easy for them to get in their own head and for them things to go awry. And that's exactly what happened. I was looking at the stat line. Mississippi State left 9 points on the board here. They missed 3 field goals in this game. So that's ouch. And I think Mike Leach had, in the post-game presser put out a statement about.
I've got it.
Oh, you got that? Okay. Well,
yeah.
I won't spoil it then. I'll be quiet. But yeah, great game. I hate somebody had to lose this. I would love to have seen this go to overtime. Because that would have been a great finish.
Yeah. Well, from the highest of highs with Sam Pittman to the lowest of lows, listening to Mike Leach talk about the kicking game, let's hear what he had to say after the loss.
Well, I think that there's an open tryout, and you can announce this. There's an open tryout on our campus for kickers. You know, anybody that wants to kick or walk on and kick at Mississippi State, we'll hold a tryout anytime you can get over there to our building, providing you're cleared by the NC2A.
Jesse, when you hear something like that, what is your reaction when you hear it?
I don't like that at all. I think that is terrible coaching. I think that is awful coaching. As someone who, has known at least one kicker at Alabama, one that went through an eerily similar situation in, playing against Auburn, missing a couple kicks during the game. He gets swapped out. Another kicker comes in. They miss. That's the kick 6, all of that. The mental battle that they go through. And I make fun of kickers all the time. We all do. Absolutely. But they are on anxiety medication. There is a mental battle constantly going on in their heads because at a stage like this in a Division I school where people are so passionate, they get every kind of hate thrown at them and they get death threats, which is ridiculous. And I think the thing that a player needs is their coach to have their back, their coach not to make comments like that in a press conference that they are then going to hear, because it is a mental game. I mean, of course they have to have the leg, they have to be able to kick it in accuracy, but it is also a mental game. And when you feel like your coach doesn't believe in you and is making snide remarks, funny things, that is just adding to that mental game. And I think it was a very, very poor coaching decision on Mike Leach's part. And I'm very, very disappointed to hear him say that.
I agree. I mean, it's just throwing them under the bus in that manner. like you said, your coach is the person that you expect to stick up for you.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe if he needs to make those decisions behind closed doors, that's a different
Sure.
matter.
But I can't imagine Kirby Smart, Nick Saban, Coach Pittman. I can't imagine any of them saying that at all.
I could see Kirby or Saban saying that.
But we've had that happen, and he hasn't. In fact, he's been super supportive of our kickers and has really gotten on to people about coming after our kickers, because at the end of the day, and I truly believe this, it should never come down to a field goal. Your offense,
right.
Once you're in the red zone, your offense needs to take care of business, and their offense didn't do that.
Right. Well, a little bit of listener feedback here. Jody Hendricks said we should talk about the highs and lows of Mississippi State, and it's been interesting to watch them. We've talked about this last week, kind of their potential. Obviously, they got off to a bit of a rough start. They should not have lost to Memphis. Almost came back against LSU, and they get on a bit of a hot streak. And then they have losses like this, where obviously they lost to a quality Arkansas team. It was a hard fought battle. But I think the manner also, and then the post game comments, it seems to spiral. Right. It's just
it doesn't create a good locker room atmosphere.
Not at all.
You've already had so many transfers in your first year as a head coach that and I don't know what it's like in the locker room when they win. I mean, maybe it's super great, but a roller coaster of emotions in a locker room is not always a good recipe.
Right. And I think if Mike Leach wants to take that approach with the kickers, if he thinks that they're kind of like a dime a dozen, he can just run them through and try out whoever. That's one thing. But, the other players see that too. And they see, well, man, if he's like going to throw him under the bus, then am I next? Right. It's just like you said, it's a locker room attitude. And that's it's whether they say it or not. I guarantee you they're thinking about that. It's odd. So.
Absolutely.
All right. Let's talk about the game that you attended, Jesse. Let's talk about LSU at Bama. By the way, did you say hi to Kirk Herbstreit and Chris Fowler while they were there calling the game? No, you didn't.
I can't say that I did. I was very close to Clay Travis at one point.
Gotcha.
He was set up outside one of the bars I was at before the game started.
Nice. Well, the Bama did win 20-14, and you got the point in this one. But yeah, this was a wild one. I think we all kind of expected, even at the slow start, that Bama would kind of march ahead and pull ahead, and we'd be like, oh, okay, this is what we expected. But it never happened. And LSU with nothing to lose, pulling out all the stops with fake punts and all of this craziness. Perhaps Bama, not necessarily from Saban's approach, but maybe some of the players coming in perhaps a bit unprepared or overconfident. And then the biggest shock to me in this is Bama had 6 rushing yards. And I think that's for the first time since like the early 90s that they were held to 6 rushing yards.
Ouch.
So anyway, I want to go ahead and get your thoughts, and then let's listen to what Saban had to say.
I was unwell. I had great seats. And everybody before the game was like, oh, I hope it's a good game. I hope it's, and I was like, I'm fine with the blowout. Stop saying that. I'm fine with the blowout. Everybody could really be quiet right now.
Right.
But it was like LSU, when you like get fired or you put in your 2 weeks and it's your last day and you're like, I'm leaving anyway. Right. What are you going to do?
What are you going to do? Fire me?
Yeah, what are you going to do? Fire me? Just like wreak havoc everywhere. It's like, that was their mentality. Even the LSU fans, and I've been to several LSU games in Tuscaloosa, they travel very well. It's like 5 hours from Baton Rouge. It's not a horrible drive. They travel super well. They didn't even fill up a whole section. They were half of a corner section.
Oh, wow.
It's like they were like, we're not even gonna go. It's not worth it. Blah blah. They should have come. They should have come.
I was gonna say, goodness.
You should have come. But we were living dangerously, and I knew as soon as we missed that extra point, it was going to come back to haunt us because we've been there before.
Right.
We have. And I think Ed Ogeron must have taken a couple plays out of the Lane Kiffin 4th down playbook, and he actually executed them. Our poor defense was on the field all the time, and offense, and it wasn't even just, Bryce Young. Like, I think there was some very poor play calling. I want Bill O'Brien out of there yesterday. I cannot stand him. If there is one coordinator you want to take him, please, dear God.
Wow.
Somebody. I cannot.
Usually it's
stand
like,
the
don't
man.
poach our coordinators. This year it's kind of like, take them.
He's on like curb alert, curbside pickup. He's on the curb. Please come get him.
He had one bad game.
No, he has not. Did you watch the A&M game?
I don't watch Bama football. I like to actually keep my lunch in my stomach. I don't.
Oh my God, he's the worst. It was a poorly called game on the offensive side. I felt bad. Bryce was getting a ton of pressure as well. Our offensive line could not hold him. And it's been happening. Everybody watched the A&M game. You blitz us, we fall apart. We can't do anything. And I don't know how we're going to rectify that because we haven't yet, but it got way too close. I also think, and this is across the board, I didn't get a chance to watch a lot of the SEC games this weekend because I was there, but officiating in the SEC, it is mind-blowingly bad. It is horrible. It is
so much worse just in the
the
last 2 seasons.
worst.
Anything specific stand out to you in this game?
There should have been a targeting call at the end of the game not against Bryce Young, but it was on Bryce Young. Right. That should have been called. LSU was holding like crazy. And of course I'm watching for what happens against Bama. I'm sure Bama did some stuff that needed to be called as well, but the officiating was terrible. It wasn't just me saying it. The entire stadium was about to lose their minds. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it is, but we have some blocking troubles that are plaguing us right now. And if we don't fix those, and if we don't get better play calling on the offensive side of the ball, then Bama is not as good as a number 2 team, and it will show if we don't fix that. I right now do not think we are as good as a number 2 team. I don't. I'm very surprised that we're ranked that high because I wouldn't rank us that high.
Yeah. Wow. Well, maybe you can take solace in the fact that perhaps your presence there is what got them over the hump there, and you're able to cheer them on. So
I can't go back; it's too far.
You did the thing, Jesse. Congrats.
Yeah, there you go. Let's listen to what Saban had to say about the win, and then we'll get your thoughts, Matt.
Well, Coach Saban, LSU has the ball. They're going in to tie the game. Your defense stands up. Again, right there, your defense is there. How do you describe the way your team responded to this?
Well, the defense did a great job. We got a lot of stops in the second half when it was a one-score game. One on the goal line when it was 3rd and 9 or whatever was really big. But, offensively, we didn't move the ball at all. Lots of 3 and outs. Couldn't keep the ball away from them. So a win's a win. It's always great to beat LSU. We knew they had a good team. They played a really good game, but I'm proud of our players for the way they competed and finished the game.
You warned your kids all week that LSU would bring the best against you. How did they respond when they kept getting slugged in the mouth?
Well, I think they responded well. We ended up winning the game. We ended up doing what we had to do to win the game. We didn't get it done on offense, but we did on defense. And it's a team game, and the score is the score, and it only matters when it's over, and it's in our favor.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, thank you.
Matt, what are your thoughts on the game? Head scratcher.
Oh, yeah. For those that can't see.
Right. I have some kind of commentary there.
Why? Okay. In what bizarro world did we slide into? Did the gravitational pull of the planet get thrown off and we ended up getting sucked into some wormhole where Nick Saban doesn't sound like he wants to kill everybody, because every time we've listened to a sound clip of him in the last 6 weeks, I feel like he's been like very much
Nice.
coach speak, very like not angry midget man. Like I don't understand what's going on here.
What did we call him? Chill, bro Saban.
Right,
Oh,
bro
Saban.
Bro Saban's scary now. I don't.
Bro
get
Saban
it.
might
Like,
be scarier.
You know what, Jesse? You might want to cover your ears. I think he's getting tired.
No.
I think
Did
he's
you
getting
hear
tired.
him? He's got another 5
I think
years.
he's getting tired. I don't know, kid. How old is Nick Saban? Hey, Google. I'm gonna ask Google. How old is Nick Saban?
Didn't he just turn 70 or something like that?
On Halloween. Halloween's his birthday.
He's 70. He's 70 years old. He's
He
tired.
turned it on
He's an
the
old.
31st.
He's an old man. He wants out.
No.
Just when I think they're out, they pull me back in. Listen, there's signs here.
I never thought I would
weird.
hear
You want
Saban
Jesse.
say, let's not worry about the mental lapses and just enjoy the win. I never thought I would ever hear that.
Nope. That's it. I think
Because whoever put muscle relaxers in the water for the kicker, for poor Will, who has been our rock, must have put it in Saban's water too.
Yeah,
I
maybe
think
that's what it is.
Maybe they're lacing the Twinkies or the Hostess ding dongs, whatever he
Maybe.
eats. I don't know. Whatever.
Oatmeal cream pie.
Honey buns don't at me. Anyway, as far as this game goes, I absolutely detest the fact that Coach O didn't have a chance to win this ball game. I wanted him to go out a winner over Bama just one time. That could have been fun.
What a weird thing that would have been. Like,
He has been a winner over
Lame-
Bama. He beat us.
I meant again. Once wasn't enough.
lame duck coach
Yeah.
with a win like this. That would have been weird.
Yeah,
That'd be
that
crazy.
would just be. I would love it. The other thing, I was looking at was the stat line and yards per rush, 0.2.
I'm just glad it was
Fantastic. Don't see
positive and wasn't like negative
Fantastic.
4.
I've never seen a team struggle to run the ball worse than that in my entire life, and I'm a Tennessee fan. It just, that was a rough game for Bama. But Saban's right. A win's a win. You know, to quote Vin Diesel from Fast and Furious, you win by an inch, you win by a mile, you still win. Yeah, I went there.
Thank
It's
God.
like 2000.
Thank God.
Life lessons with Vin Diesel.
Yeah, with Vin Diesel.
Oh.
Need to tag him on Twitter when we post that link. Anyhow, great win for Bama. I agree with Jesse. I don't know if Bama's the second best team in the nation.
I don't think we are.
They sure aren't playing like it the last couple weeks. And I know the SEC's tough, but boy, it's going to be real interesting come the end of the season.
Yeah, like we were saying, it's things are heating up, and these next few weeks for the obviously the East is sewn up, but as far as the remainder of the games, even in the East and the West, are going to be interesting from here on out. So, all right. Speaking of the East, let's talk about Tennessee at Kentucky. Tennessee winning this one, a wild game. Winning this one 45-42. Matt was the only one to pick Tennessee because he believed.
I believe that we will win. I believe that we will win. I believe that we will win. I told y'all.
And you know what?
You were right.
Just go ahead, jump into it, man. What are your thoughts on this one?
Listen, I watched this game with my dad, and me and my dad were sitting there watching the game, and my dad's like, "We look a lot better than we did earlier," and I went, "Yeah, we do." Their obviously defense was awful, atrocious in this game. But boy, that offense though, come out firing strong. We scored in like the first 3 plays of the game. Offensively speaking, Kentucky had to come out and grind it out. Body blow after body blow from Kentucky's offense. I felt like the thing that really was astonishing about this game was the time of possession. If you look at the time of possession, Kentucky had the ball for 46 minutes. 46 minutes they had possession of the ball. Tennessee had the ball for 13 minutes, but Tennessee still found a way to win. By the way, and I don't know who the who the announce crew for this game was, but they were awful. They were awful. There were so many little, and I do sports broadcasting on the side, and I'm not an ESPN professional by any stretch, but like if you call a player, you should know what name they are. If it's fourth down for the Volunteers, you should say fourth down for the Volunteers, not fourth down for the Wildcat. Just little things here and there. It just was not good. I didn't like it. And also they harped on that time possession thing like it was a bad thing. And granted, it was, because Kentucky's offense was on the field most of the game. And
97 plays.
Yeah, that seems to be happening quite a bit. Ole Miss ran 100, Alabama ran like 97 or something like that. Our defense needs a shot in the arm, but we lost so many people on both sides of the ball that I'm not that shocked by that. But overall, thought it was a great game. I'm every week I'm more impressed with Hendon Hooker and his play. I feel like he's gotten so much better just in the last month or two. He looks really good. He's able to make those reads, able to find those open ball carriers. I feel like the schemes that our wide receivers are running are really good. I wish we ran the ball a little bit more efficiently. Jabari Small looks like an absolute monster. Jalen Wright looks like a monster. Hendon Hooker, when he gets loose, can go too. I feel like that we should do that a little bit more. But, Hendon Hooker goes 15 for 20 for 316 yards and 4 touchdowns. I got nothing to complain about. At all. But I'm glad that this went down. By the way, going back to circle to bad SEC officiating, finally Tennessee had a bad call go our way on a face mask call that would have given Kentucky a first down. They botched that call badly. And I'm glad that they did, but
it did work out though. They got the first down on what, 4th and 24 or whatever.
4th and 26. 4th and 26.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess it worked out either way, but daggum, officiating in the SEC is awful.
It's so bad.
It's worse than it's ever been.
Yeah.
There's
no
question about that.
Did you see Will Levis when he was trying to get that call? He was on the ground and he was like tugging at his face mask like this. And it looked like, I was like wondering if he was okay. It looked like he was going into convulsions down there.
Yeah. He was pretty upset, and I don't blame him because you got to advocate for yourself in those situations. Sure. But Stoops getting himself a sideline penalty was not a good idea.
That puzzled me, man.
He was.
Refs get yelled at all the time. So he must have said
that guy the business.
He must have said something deeply personal about his mother or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, because even on the call I was mentioning for Bama on what we thought should have been targeting towards Bryce Young, Saban went nuclear on all of the officiating crew. They had it on the big screen. I could see him down there, but you could see on the big screen, and there was nothing but pure rage, and nothing happened. Maybe he was too scared to call it against him. I don't know, but you rarely see that happen. Nuclear. It's got to be something like really egregious for them to call it. I feel like, 'cause they get yelled at all the time.
Yeah, right. And that's I was kind of taken aback by that, but yeah.
Tweet him and ask him.
Oh, by the way, I do want to shout out Alontae Taylor for that beautiful pick six he had in the fourth quarter, or I think it was fourth quarter, third quarter. Amazing play. I love Alontae Taylor. Yeah. I hope he gets lots of money on Sundays here soon. Not too soon though. I think he's still got a year of eligibility left.
Gotcha.
He doesn't need to go anywhere quite yet.
Yeah, just hang on for a little bit. Let's listen to the victorious coach Josh Heupel, and then Jesse, let's get your thoughts on it.
Well, Coach Heupel, your defense on the field for 99 plays tonight, but they were able to get it done at the end. What stood out to you about that unit on that last drive?
Effort, strain, competing, a lot of things that we can do a lot better, both sides of the football. But, man, our kids play hard. They play every second of that clock. Love these guys.
Offensively, Hendon Hooker didn't have the ball for a lot of time, but he certainly got it done when he did. What did you like about his performance?
Super efficient, accurate with the football all night long, took care of it. The first half was really unique in just the way that it unfolded. A lot of big plays for us and them on long drives. This group of guys, man, they love to compete together, man, and we're building a really special foundation to our program.
We've talked about this rivalry. It's going to be physical. It's going to be a four-quarter ball game every time. You get your first win in this rivalry. What does it mean to do it in this manner?
It's big for us this week. For our kids, you can see the excitement in their faces right now, man. They're excited. our fan base is excited and rejuvenated with what we're doing. Enjoy this one tonight. We got a bus trip back to Knoxville, and then we got a big football game next week too.
Thank you, Coach. Congrats.
Appreciate it. Go Big Orange.
Yeah. Jesse,
fly into the hyple. Woo!
Or what did you say?
Hyped
You're ready
for hyple?
ready for it to get into to activate the hyple drive. What? I saw that one.
It's so bad. Oh man, the jokes write themselves. So.
Jesse, what were your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think we talked about it earlier with A&M talking about how big a crowd can be for a team, and for this to be at Kroger Field, knowing that they've had significant wins over some really tough teams at home is huge for Tennessee to go in there and to play, you know, a later game at Kroger Field. It's a really big deal. So congrats to them, especially looking at the time of possession. I know we talked about it, but it just goes to show that when you have explosive plays and you're able to really make a difference in a fast amount of time, you don't have to stay on the field that long. Now, your defense is going to get tired. So you have to be able to manage the clock that way. But I think that's huge. And, you know, it's a big deal. I didn't, and Matt, maybe you can shed some light on this. I didn't know Kentucky was a big rival for Tennessee.
Oh, yeah. Huh? Yeah. It's always been a one of those games where,
what's that unofficial trophy they have between the
beer
two?
Barrel.
Yeah.
The beer barrel. It used to be the battle for the beer barrel, but then a couple kids got killed in a drunk driving accident right before the game, 97, I think it was. And so they got rid of the beer barrel, but they should bring it back. I mean, my God, we sell beer in Neyland Stadium now. Let's have the beer barrel back. It was great. It's a big barrel with orange and blue planks on it. It's atrocious. It looks awful because those two colors just kind of, but yeah, you look around, there's pictures on the internet. It's somewhere. I have no idea.
Yeah, I was gonna say I remember seeing it.
If not, they can make a new one.
Yeah. But
that's the one thing about the SEC that bugs the absolute tar out of me is we don't have, like, you look at the Big Ten, the Pac-12, they've got all these trophy games, like the battle for Paul Bunyan's axe, and the battle for the Seminole War canoe down in Florida or what have you, and all that stuff. And I just wish there was more of that in the SEC, but we don't. We just play football, I guess. I don't know. We don't have to dress it up any.
There's a few, but I feel like they're not quite as highly. Obviously, you got Georgia, Auburn, Deep South's oldest rivalry. You got the Iron Bowl. You got a few around, but
battle for the boot.
Yeah.
It's the worst trophy ever.
It's the most obnoxious looking.
It just looks terrible. I'm sorry.
It's just unwieldy. Yeah. It's huge and weirdly shaped. So,
Egg Bowl trophy looks weird too.
Yeah, well, it's supposed to be a football, right? Or how they looked back in the day, but it looks like an egg, so they're like, we'll call it the egg bowl.
Looks like an egg to me.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, let's end this on another crazy note, and that was Florida at South Carolina. And my gosh, Florida losing to South Carolina, or more aptly, South Carolina blowing them out 40-17. Nobody got the point. Because again, why would you pick? Given the body of work that we've seen this year, and I know Florida has had their struggles, but what you have seen, why would you pick South Carolina? Especially when you consider that they went from having a starting quarterback in Luke Doty to a graduate assistant, Zeb Noland, and then because of his own injury, or I guess he got benched actually. The starting quarterback was named Jason Brown for South Carolina, 5th-year transfer from FCS school St. Francis of Pennsylvania.
Not even a direction in that name.
Pennsylvania gets his first start for the Gamecocks. So
a holy school, St. Francis.
Exactly. So on the other side of the ball, Anthony Richardson concussed last week and didn't start this week. So Emory Jones getting the nod, of course. But I don't know if you guys saw this. They talked about it on a few of the shows. At one point, Florida's defense was so terrible that on a touchdown throw thrown into the back of the end zone. No one on the SEC network crew could figure out what the coverage was supposed to be. And it's like they were just looking at the scheme, and Gene Chizik was like, "You guys asked me what was supposed to happen here, and I don't know. I have no idea." Because it was that bad. I mean, it was like I don't know if you guys saw. I think it was earlier today. South Carolina, I think on Twitter, put things, and I can't remember the receiver who caught the ball. Things that he could have done while waiting for defenders to get to him. And they filmed him in the back of the end zone. He was like, he had a blanket. He was taking a nap. He had a golf club. He was practicing golf back there.
Hey, golf balls in football stadiums are dangerous. No,
Don't do that. Don't do that.
That's true. Bad juju. What was something else? I think he was like, I don't know. They listed a ton of stuff, and it was pretty funny. So they were having fun with it as well. But good on Shane Beamer. Let's listen to what he had to say, because he was just soaking it in, I think, after the game.
What does this mean?
Everything. Just so happy for these guys. They're unbelievable. For the last 2 weeks, all we've talked about is just competition and competing. And I told you guys yesterday, like, you worry when you come off a game like Texas A&M, going into an off week, how the mentality is going to be. We had an unbelievable week of practice the last 2 weeks, and they competed. The best 2 weeks of practice that we've had all season. I told you guys, I'm trying to shorten the practices last week in an off week to give them a break, and they're coming to me wanting to practice longer. So they deserve this. So happy for them, and hopefully this is just the start of something special.
What does this mean for the start of Jason Brown's career here at South Carolina?
Unbelievable night. I mean, we told our players last night in the team meeting, I talked about what he did in his first start ever at St. Francis. And I think he threw for 300 yards, was the conference player of the week. So we told him Jason was going to play well. Now, did I know he was going to play that well? No. But what he did is we did a great job of running the ball and helping him out. Defense got turnovers. Just a unbelievable night to be a Gamecock.
Yeah, how about some of your defensive guys? Jabari Ellis with the scoop and score. You were going nuts. What does that mean when your defense is scoring points to help your offense?
It's huge, and it was, part of the thing tonight that we knew we needed to do to win the football game was win the turnover margin, and we did that. When you score on defense, that's hard to overcome, and just so happy for these kids. They work so hard, and to come out here and play and win a game in an environment and against a really, really good Florida team. So whatever the narrative is about them, they got really good players, and they were out there tonight. So fantastic night. So proud of our guys, and we're going to enjoy the heck out of this one.
I know you said you wanted to emphasize running the football today. All four of your guys ended up doing that. What'd you think of the way you were able to move the ball?
It was jump the gun. They did great. Offensive line was physical. Tight ends were physical. All those guys got in the action, and we've got to continue to build on this and keep getting better from this. For as awesome as a win that was, there were a lot of plays that we left out there too that made it even closer than it needed to be.
All your family flanking you after this is over. Your parents are up there watching. Whoa, how are you going to celebrate this?
Unbelievable. It's what it's all about. And Coach White, our defensive coordinator, said it on the headphones. This is why we came to Carolina. And this is just the start. So we're getting back to competing for championships soon here. And we got an unbelievable group of recruits that are here at this game that saw this. Hopefully a lot more watching on TV, and just very, very proud.
Thank you, Coach. Congrats.
Thank you.
No moment wasted, right? It's like he's got that spotlight. He's going to mention recruiting. He's going to mention that, South Carolina is headed back to the winning ways and stuff like that. So he was soaking it in and definitely using that opportunity. Jesse, what were your thoughts on this one?
I feel like the reporter needed to ask like 3 fewer questions. He gave very lengthy answers.
He did.
He did the very nice coach thing where he's like, yeah, we're going to go enjoy it. And she didn't get the cue. And he's got like what I can only assume is he's holding a child, because I heard like little
his family ran out there with him.
And she even was like, your family, your parents, they're all here. It's like, yeah, shut up and let him go. But that's just me.
Yeah.
But that is humongous for South Carolina. Now I do disagree with him saying that this is a very good Florida team. I do not think they are, but it is.
Well, he's going to say that, right? He
has to. He did a great job. He did coach speak. It was a great job, but humongous for South Carolina. They couldn't have a quarterback with a more generic name coming out of nowhere, but good for him. Very exciting. And I just need everybody to truly take a moment and to stop and to pick up your phone, whether you're looking through your contacts, whether you're looking through Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever it is that you keep tabs on your close circle of friends, or even those on your outer circle. I just want to encourage you this week to reach out to your Florida friends, check on them, make sure they're okay, offer them a shoulder to cry on, an ear to listen, because it's bad in Gainesville.
I don't know about y'all.
There it is. There it is.
If somebody says they're a Florida fan, I immediately go ahead and cross them off my friend list because I'm not.
Just hug them. Love them through it, y'all. Love them.
Matt's getting to know somebody at first, and you've hit it off, and then they all of a sudden blurt out, "By the way, I'm a really big Gators fan." And Matt's like, "Nope, sorry, all right, we're done."
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Thanks though.
Yeah.
Carolina almost lost to Vanderbilt.
Yeah, so that's the thing is I have to remind myself. So we were talking about this game going into it as how these teams had the same record coming in, and guys, South Carolina now has a better record than Florida. Again, a lot of these things that we talked about, you were talking about A&M earlier. If you would have told me this a few weeks ago or at the beginning of the season, I would have laughed at you very heartily. And this is just an unbelievable turn of events in the conference. Matt, what are your thoughts on it?
Oh, it's not going to show up.
Oh, I see it. I see it kind of.
Yep. You know what that is, kids? That's a red flag.
Yeah.
That is a red flag. I am flying a red flag for Florida because we don't know what's going on. Listen, I do not hide the fact that I can't stand the University of Florida. In my hierarchy of schools I can't stand, Bama's up there, Florida's up there, Northside High School's up there. Sorry if you're an Eagles fan. There's reasons for that. But there's a list of them. Okay. Florida's at the top. As much as I can't stand Florida, I don't know what's going on, and I don't like it. I don't like it. I like it a little bit. A little bit of that Schadenfreude starting to kick in. But the majority of my non primate brain, the lizard part of my brain that shuts off, when I look at this analytically and I go, what's going on? Something is awful down in Gainesville, and I don't know what happened. We've always been kind of suspicious of Dan Mullen as far as how he handled things, and it seems like he's in the process of losing that locker room. You can usually tell when people don't want to fight for you, and it doesn't seem like that Florida team wants to fight for him right now. There's a lot of a narrative, to quote Beamer, there's a narrative around the Florida football program right now. And it's just one of those things where we're kind of going, I don't know what's going to happen. Didn't we see that Grantham got fired? And I think the O-line coach got canned also Sunday night. So they're starting to clean house as far as bringing in new blood for their offense and defense. So, but the hot seat is turned all the way up, and it's on high.
I was going to say,
do you feel like, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, if that was a maneuver to get the heat off him, well, the heat is squarely on him now. So
yeah.
But do you feel like, and this could be just completely conjecture, and it is at this point, but last year there was so much hype around the Kyles, right? It was all about the pair of Kyles. Do you think that Mullen maybe fostered or focused way too much on the pair of Kyles, did not focus anywhere else, did not build up any other players, whether that be from an on the field perspective or just investing in them and showing them that they're important? And now that things are kind of getting a little, they're not buying into him because they didn't feel like he invested in them. I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out what's going on, but that's the first thing that comes to mind.
I don't know how good of a player manager he is to begin with, because let's not forget, and I had forgotten this, that when Kyle Trask came in, Dan Mullen wasn't playing him. The only reason he got in the game was because Felipe Franks got injured.
Yep.
And so he was kind of, perhaps being a little bit
and there was
stubborn about that as well.
Rivalry between the two of them because Felipe Franks was fighting for his life and people were calling for Trask.
Right, exactly. And Mullen, in kind of the same manner he's been with Richardson this year, is like, no, I want to stick with my guy. And I don't know. It's a lot that's been going on, and I actually didn't know about this either. And I was reading about it. I think I sent it to you guys about Dan Mullen apparently now has a year-long show cause in effect because I think it was a couple of recruits he spoke with directly that he was not supposed to during a period of time when he was not supposed to. And so he's got that show cause in effect for a year. Basically, his leadership has to attest that he's recruiting in the proper way, I think every 6 months or whatever the show cause terms are. So that's
he was good at Mississippi State. I mean, he had started to build a really great program over there. Mississippi State fans were so upset when they lost him. I mean, so upset. Like, had all of their like game day buttons and shirts about him, they burned literally.
It's so weird because remember we I think we said it on the show here where if he can recruit like that at Mississippi State, imagine what's going to happen when he's at Florida. And it's been I can't describe it because it's like one of those deals where what you expect to happen doesn't happen at all, at least so far. So I don't know. You guys got any more thoughts on that before we move on?
Blessings.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about our Pickum standings before we move on. I got 28. Jesse has 25, and Matt has 24. So we're all just kind of moving up. It's still bunched up, and we'll see how things go from here on out. Lots more games to get to. So, all right. Let's talk about the news of the week.
Here's the news.
All right, obviously we've already talked about Florida firing Todd Grantham and the offensive line coach. So let's actually go ahead and get to our fresh reactions to the CFP rankings, which just dropped about an hour or two-ish ago. So it's all fresh on our minds. And in order, they are number 1, Georgia, number 2, Alabama, number 3, Oregon, number 4, Ohio State, number 5, Cincinnati, number 6, Michigan, number 7, Michigan State, number 8, Oklahoma, number 9, Notre Dame, number 10, Oklahoma State. And then the rest of the SEC teams in the top 25 are number 11, Texas A&M, number 15, Ole Miss, number 17, Auburn, and number 25, getting back into the top 25, Arkansas. Do you guys have any thoughts, reactions to this? Are there any surprises there? Is anything that's shocking you right now?
I'm shocked Michigan State's still in the top 10 if they lost to unranked Purdue.
Same.
That's what I was thinking.
That's the thing that doesn't make sense, especially putting them in front of Oklahoma and Notre Dame. Nah, it's just, I don't know what you're trying to accomplish.
Couldn't tell you anything about Notre Dame this season. The only thing I know is the only thing I need to know. Irrelevant. Okay. Michigan State, how are you at 7? You lost to Purdue. Cincinnati.
Spoiler makers.
Cincinnati surprises me at 5. I did not expect the committee to give them that much of a nod because it is quite the nod from where they have been. I'm not saying I think they'll sneak into the top 4, but 5 is quite an accomplishment for them right now. So we'll see. And I am super thankful Alabama's ranked at number 2 because, as I've said throughout the rest of the show, I'm very nervous that we are not a number 2 team. Yeah, I mean, those are the big ones, I think, is really those.
Quite frankly, I don't understand why Notre Dame is number 9. I don't really know what they've really done to kind of merit that, but I'll tell you what that does is it gives Cincinnati a win against a top 10 team.
That's true.
Yep.
So that's good for them. It makes it look good on paper for them. So I don't know. I kind of have a feeling that Cincinnati may slip in because of the carnage, the potential carnage that's out there. We talked about Oregon's possibly going to drop one later on. Ohio State, who knows? They have had their own struggles, although they've gotten it done so far. Around them and behind them, Michigan State's already lost. I don't know. I guess what it's going to depend on is if any of those other teams have a big win and end up jumping them, which is also a possibility. So
Notre Dame almost lost and barely beat Florida State in overtime.
Yep. Yeah, I remember that. That was like what, second or third game of the
As
season?
the first game.
Was it the first?
game of the
Okay.
season.
They barely beat, literally by a field goal, Toledo.
Yep.
Close-ish game with Purdue, which now sounds a little bit better. But still, Purdue is unranked. They're unranked, guys. Don't get too excited. Wisconsin, they are not good. They beat Wisconsin. They did lose to Cincinnati. They, again, by a field goal, barely beat Virginia Tech. Beat USC. Didn't beat North Carolina by much, and then just beat Navy. It is, I mean, it is the Team Mom cupcake sale of a schedule.
Yeah. But yeah,
and they're at 9.
Yeah. I don't know. That's my main takeaway, but it is interesting. Now that I see that though, okay, they're at number 9. Well, yeah, you just made Cincinnati look a lot better now. So I don't know.
To the untrained eye, and only the untrained eye.
Right. Well, that's the thing, is that's supposed to be part of the qualifiers for this, is how things look on the field. The eye test. They love using that phrase, the eye test. And they're not really passing the eye test right now. And there's a lot of other teams that quite frankly aren't. But at the same time,
Bama hasn't passed the eye test the last couple of weeks.
I was going to say, at the same token, I was listening to Kirk Herbstreit talking about, 2 teams 2 through 8. You could almost kind of just throw them all in a hat, jumble around, and just what the results are or what they are, and you could kind of poke holes in it. But at the end of the day, it'll all kind of sort itself out.
It's almost like we should do an 18 playoff.
Yeah, I know, right? It's amazing.
What an interesting concept. Could you imagine those weeks? Like you'd have Georgia versus Michigan, Georgia versus Oklahoma. You'd have Bama versus Michigan State. You'd have Oregon versus Michigan, Ohio State versus Cincinnati. That'd be
what matchups, man? What marquee, huge,
that'd be fun.
Big name matchups.
It's good college football TV right there.
It is good college football, and if you look at the matchups, it's really geographically very good from a ratings perspective, and for getting everyone sort of involved.
The only people that aren't involved is,
Florida.
Yeah, Florida's not involved.
Miami,
but
it's
Tallahassee going to.
It's almost every corner of the country.
Yeah.
So, it's interesting. There's some movement, not a lot, but it's just going to be one of those things. Like we said, things are heating up. Teams are getting in position now, and we'll see what the games decide. So, all right, we do have a bit of listener feedback here, which we've already kind of discussed, but not necessarily this in depth. So let's go ahead and get into that.
You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
All right, so we do have a listener comment here. Sam Al-Salim says, and we pose the question every week, is, what are your takeaways? What's your biggest surprises? And he says, my biggest surprise is that Tennessee, Kentucky, and South Carolina are all ahead of Florida in the East. We mentioned call your Florida friends because they're not okay.
Let me get my red flag gift back up. Hold on.
Yeah, it does sound funny, but until you step back and look at the big picture of the division standings, it kind of hits you. You're like, oh my gosh, that's a real thing. all those teams that we just mentioned that we usually don't think of being ahead of Florida are in fact ahead of them. So I don't know. Do you guys have any other thoughts on that?
Things are sort of starting to shift. I mean, there's always like a pendulum shift, and it does take a while in college football to shift. But if you think about it, back in, several years ago, these teams were all pretty decent, maybe with the exception of Kentucky. But now it's sort of flipping, maybe back around, and you truly never know.
Let's not get crazy now. Carolina had a good game against Florida, and Tennessee's looking better. Let's not
Their
pull what's his name and say they're back. We're not doing that yet.
We're not back, but I'm saying you're starting to see a little tilt,
a seismic shift. So.
Ooh, like the earth science reference.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. So definitely, as you mentioned before, check on your Florida friends. So, all right, let's go ahead and talk about some of these upcoming matchups of the week.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble.
All right, the first game of the weekend.
Come on, Jesse, you know you want to pick New Mexico State.
I hate all of you.
The first game of the week is a tune-up game for Alabama. New Mexico State 1-8 at Alabama 8-1, noon on SEC Network. I can say that because I actually went to a New Mexico State Georgia game a few years ago, and that was basically as you would expect. I expect the same in this one. Bama's going to try to get the kinks worked out, get some things figured out, and they win this one easily 59-7. Jesse?
Offensive line, figure out how to block. Bill O'Brien, don't suck. Bama, 52-6.
All right. Matt,
guys, the line in this game is 51.5.
Yeah, so it's a lot.
51.5. I don't think I've ever seen a line that high. Because typically you get to a certain point, you're just like, yeah, we're not going to even take bets on it.
Right, it's just blank.
But that's a lot. Over under on this is 67. So yeah. I don't foresee this happening. I don't see the upset coming here. And I'm also thinking that line's not good enough. I think that Bama's gonna come underneath that a little bit. So I'm gonna say Bama wins this thing 48-10. So not as big a margin of victory, but
all right, maybe New Mexico gets a garbage time touchdown at the end or
something. Some that mess over some poor guy's bet.
Right.
Make him lose his house.
Right. All right. Next is Mississippi State at 5-4, 3-3 in the SEC at Auburn, 6-3, 3-2 in the SEC. That is also a noon kickoff on ESPN. Yeah, I mean, I think this is another close, wild one. I think, obviously Auburn's got that Jordan Hare voodoo going on. I think that they do get this done, although it's close, 28-24. Jesse?
Never trust the Jordan Hare juju ever. Taking the Tigers 24-17.
All right, Matt.
Y'all are giving Mississippi State a lot more credit than I am. I think Mississippi State's played well the last couple of weeks. I'm still not sold on them, so I'm gonna say Auburn 28-10.
I'm just not sold on Auburn.
Yeah.
At home, I'm sold.
At home,
I'm sold on Auburn.
They're better.
Right. All right. Next we have Samford at 3-5 at Florida, 4-5. That is noon on ESPN Plus.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh, but when your record's almost as bad as Samford,
and this, I mean, Florida's going to win this game. I believe, as I've got them winning 42-17, but they got to be careful. I mean, obviously Samford is probably looking at this game like, hey, this is as beatable as Florida's ever been. You know what I mean? We need to give it everything we've got right now. So it's going to be an interesting one to watch. Jesse, what are your thoughts?
The Gators, maybe. Very close records. Guarantee you Samford's had that Carolina game playing on loop.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Gators will take it 32-6, and the only reason I'm that confident is because they're in the swamp.
Yeah. Matt.
I think Florida ends up bouncing back a little bit in this game. I think the defense will play a little bit better. Samford's a little bit of a step down compared to South Carolina, so I'm going to say Florida wins 35-3.
Okay. All right, next we have Georgia at 9-0, 7-0 in the SEC, at Tennessee at 5-4, 3-3 in the SEC. That's a 3:30 kickoff on CBS, the SEC game of the week for CBS. And you know what, Matt? I want you to go first. You make your pick first.
No. Don't throw off the juju. You go first.
Okay. All right, but I don't want to just make my pick because I feel like we need to talk about this because we've talked.
Do you want
about
me to go first?
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
As a completely unbiased, someone who hates them both, I have a slight comment after I give my prediction. I'm picking UGA 28-10. However, in a rare turn of events, I hope Tennessee wins.
That is rare. Is there any motivation behind that, or just?
I hope they knock UGA down. I hate UGA.
He's not wrong.
The usual. Gotcha. All right. Yeah. So I think this one is going to be an odd one. I do think the Dogs win. And look, I know I probably shouldn't pay attention to social media. I know Tennessee fans are making it really difficult for me to be nice and objective this week.
Looking at you, Ball Goose.
But you know what? I'm not taking the bait. Okay. Instead, I'm going to take a different approach. All right. So if they want to talk about drought since 1980 or supposedly choking every year, I'll say that you know what, that reputation has possibly been earned. Okay. The Dogs have got to accept that people are going to say stuff like that. And I'm sure obviously they're used to it. Kirby is probably used to it, whatever, and got them conditioned to not even respond to stuff like that anymore. But they also have to recognize that they have the power to change that narrative, right? Narratives weren't meant to live forever. I mean, Jesse, as you well know, I'm sure Alabama was a laughing stock for many years in the 90s and the 2000s. Obviously, that narrative has changed just a little bit. Vanderbilt used to be really good in the 1920s. Okay, that's changed. Florida honestly hasn't been able to decide which narrative they want to pick for the past decade or so. You can only taunt with the choker comments for so long before a new generation of players comes up who simply doesn't care about that narrative. They want to write a narrative of their own. So, and now is the time to change that in the program's trajectory. So that's what I'll say to all that. So I do have the Dogs winning. What did I say? 38-21. Obviously, I hope that the defense can hold a little bit better than that. But I'll tell you, as Hendon Hooker goes, so goes this game. If the Dogs are able to fluster him, then it's going to be a long day for Tennessee fans. However, if he's able to, get in some space, scramble a little bit, beat us over the top, as the secondary that hasn't really been tested that much because the front seven has been so strong, I think that it could perhaps go the opposite way. I'm not saying that I think Tennessee would win, but I think it would be, a very trying day for the Dogs. So anyway.
Wes, you are by far the most lovely and gracious Georgia fan.
I try because I'm trying to look at it in the big, because it's easy to talk smack, but then I've always been of the mind, if I talk smack, first of all, I'm not the one playing. Second of all, that comes back to bite you really, really fast, and that's no fun, right? Let's look at this in the big picture. Anyway, Matt, what are
Maybe they will be inspired by the Braves.
Yeah, that's my thought. That's my hope, anyway.
Similar narrative.
Matt, what you got?
I think you got a point about Georgia's defense, their secondary in particular, not being challenged vertically. I think this is going to be a game where if Hendon Hooker can get into a rhythm, if they can give him the protection he needs, if we can get the pass game going, I think this is a game where Tennessee has a chance to stretch the field. Another thing that I was talking to a buddy of mine that I work with, who he played, college ball. He knows a little bit about football. He told me that he thinks Tennessee will win this game strictly off pace. Georgia, is big on subbing in guys, moving people in and out. And with the pace that Tennessee runs, that could be a problem. Whether that's penalties, whether that's kids getting gas, not being able to get those subs in as efficiently as Georgia would like. So I think that's going to be the thing. And I think if it comes down to a foot race between Tennessee's offense and Georgia's offense, I like Tennessee's chances. So with that being said, I'm donning the headgear a la Lee Corso. And I'm going to say that Tennessee wins this thing, pulls off the upset, wins this ball game 28-24.
Matt, we need to get you a smoky headgear to just throw on there.
I think this is
or a puppy.
No,
that's pretty good though. That's pretty good. So I mean,
I like Tennessee's chances in this game.
Yeah, I'm actually I'm going to be listening to this one on the radio on the way back. I will get to see most of it, but I'm hoping to be I'm hoping to enjoy the drive with the radio on, so we'll see. All right. Next we have South Carolina at 5-4, 2-4 in the conference. Obviously a big win last week at Mizzou. 4-5, 1-4 in the conference. That's 4:00 on SEC Network. Mizzou is favored by 1 by Vegas, or at least they were last I looked. But I'm taking the approach that South Carolina's pumped coming off that big win. Mizzou is on the decline. And I'm going to say South Carolina comes away with a win here, 31-28. Jesse, what do you got?
Wes, I have to agree with you. Same thoughts exactly. I think Carolina is stoked right now. They finally got a boost of confidence. Not only did they win, but they won by a large margin. And Mizzou's terrible. So I'm going to pick the Gamecocks 28-17.
All right, Matt, what you got?
Anytime you have a big win, you always have to worry about the hangover afterward. And I think this is going to be one of those games where the hangover gets South Carolina. And I'm actually picking Mizzou. I'm going to go Missouri wins this ball game 21-20.
All right.
I got to do something to catch back up in the standings. I'm like 5 off the pace. So
right.
Got to do something.
All right. Next, Texas A&M at 7-2, 4-2 in the conference at Ole Miss, 7-2, 3-2 in the conference. And that is 7:00 on ESPN. So big game, especially for A&M here, who's trying to hang on to their hopes in the West. Clearly those are still alive, but they got to keep those alive in a game like this. And I think that they are able to hang on in this one, and I've got A&M winning this one 35-28. Jesse?
If we were in Kyle Field, I'd go a different way, but it is not. It is in Oxford. I think, with their records being the exact same, I think Lane Kiffin is going to really try to push this one. And I think Matt Corral goes off in this game. I think he's going to be the difference maker here. I'm just not sure that A&M's defense is going to be able to contain him. But on the same token, I don't know that Ole Miss is going to be able to contain the Texas A&M offense and Zach Calzada. So I am going to pick Ole Miss 35-31.
A lot of points. I hear you. All right, Matt, what you got?
Vegas has A&M by 2.5 right now, and I'm going to go with Vegas as well. So I'm picking A&M here 28-27. So a little bit closer to what Vegas is saying.
Yeah, that sounds like an exciting one there. All right, next is Kentucky at 6-3, 4-3 in the SEC at Vanderbilt 2-7 and winless in the conference. 7:00 on ESPN2. I think Kentucky's able to get this done. Of course, I think that's what we expect. I'm going to go with them winning 35-17. Jesse?
Yeah, no surprise. The Wildcats take this one 31-10.
Matt?
I think everybody's saying Kentucky, and I'm going to agree with everybody else because poor Vanderbilt's just not cut out for it this year. So, yeah, Kentucky wins big here, 42-10.
This year.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
Trying to be nice.
All right, and finally we have Arkansas at 6-3, 2-3 in the conference at LSU, 4-5, 2-4 in the conference. 7:30 on SEC Network. This one should be an interesting one. Probably going to be another one of those hard-fought ones. I'm going to go with Arkansas winning against LSU 31-28. Jesse, what you got?
I saw a side of LSU I was not prepared for this past weekend. I think that locker room is rallying around Coach O. It was obviously not their decision to lose him, and maybe they're not. I don't know, but I think these guys are about to play their guts out, and it's in Death Valley.
Yeah,
and at night. I'm picking LSU 28-24.
Yeah, Matt, I see the wheels turning. Like you want to make an adjustment there.
You know what? No, I'm going to stick with my original pick. I'm going to say Arkansas wins this thing. Arkansas has been playing pretty good football. So I'm going to say Arkansas pulls off this win and they win 35-24. 2-score game.
All right. Well, that does it for our upcoming games and our predictions. And that also will do it for this episode. An exciting one, lots of interesting games to talk about, and then obviously the latest rankings as well. So let's let you guys know how to contact us. If you'd like to email us, hit us up on email at pigskinsandpageantry@gmail.com. On Facebook, we can be found at facebook.com/pigskinsandpageantry. We're on Twitter at PPSCC Podcast and Instagram at Pigskins and Pageantry. Don't forget we are available for download on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, and most podcasting apps for iPhone, Android, and other operating systems. If you enjoyed the show, please take a moment, subscribe, review, give us a 5-star. We would love that. Greatly appreciate that. So until next time, lots of exciting ones coming up, and the season is heating up. Go Dogs.
Bill O'Brien, be better. Offensive line, be better. Everybody be better. Roll Tide.
Be better.
Big game. Chance to do an upset. Let's get it done, boys. Let's get it done. Go Vols. Beat Georgia.
No.